Thank you so much, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Not only was our next guest the direct inspiration for the Beatles songs Hey Jude and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but Julian Lennon has been a phenomenal songwriter himself over the years, as well as a dedicated philanthropist and children's book author. Today, he's here to talk to us about Heal the Earth, his follow-up to the wildly successful Touch the Earth. Heal the Earth is a beautiful book that teaches children everything our planet does, why it's important, and how they should grow up to take care of it. Everybody, please welcome Julian Lennon. Let's hear it.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Sir, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
So tell me, what made you want to write a follow-up?
Well, initially I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, let me do it in a few stages. And Bart, who's the co-writer, and I thought, well, you know, we talked about how far this series should go, and a trilogy seemed the right amount to know if we were going somewhere or had the right ideas or moving forward in the right direction. And after the success of the first one, you know, we couldn't have been more thrilled. So it was a question of just developing from that original concept, which was, you know, telling a story, an adventure, but also starting the conversation about the world around that the kids are going to grow up into. And that's what it was all about initially.
I love how frank the book is at times, even with children, you know? It says the waters are getting warmer due to climate change, and the coral reefs are sort of falling away. How do you and Bart discuss, you know, what to put in and what not to put in, what's appropriate and what you have to explain and don't?
Well, I mean, a lot is thrown at the wall in that regard, like spaghetti on a fridge. You know, it's how deep do you go? How far do you go in conversing with them? And again, I mean, my philosophy all along has been, even with songwriting about environmental issues, etc., has never been, don't shove it down their throats. You know, I've never liked that when people tell me what to do. I don't think anybody does, really. So it's about making them want to be interested, want to start a conversation about what this is all about. And for me, I mean, part of the reason I did this was also, especially a book like this, an old school paperback book, is because I remember those days with my mum and my grandmother, you know, where at nap time or bedtime, we'd sit together, you know, and we'd read through a book and go on an adventure. And that was a really important bonding moment, I think, within families. But to be able to include environmental and humanitarian issues in that, in the most soft and gentle way, but again, open it up for discussion, so that, and also re-educate the parents that have forgotten about this. So they're seeing this all again through the child's eyes, and then, you know, maybe it's giving them a slightly deeper consideration for, you know, the world around them.
We're in the midst of a sort of new generation of activists being developed.
Thankfully, yes.
Yes, and I think especially with, you know, we're seeing that with the Parkland teenagers and teenagers all across the country. How much do you hope that your book, you know, is inspiring children to think about activism at very early ages?
Well, I'm hoping for the best. You know, I've already seen the responses from not only the parents, but also, you know, the kids themselves, and also, I mean, last time around, especially at the book signings at the bookstores, Barnes and Noble, etc. You know, we had teachers and head teachers coming up saying, we want to introduce this into schools, whether it's into the library or part of their, you know, their classes. Of course, you know, I'm absolutely up for that. It's already happening. So I couldn't be happier on that front. That you know, this is hopefully helping the next generation along with this.
It makes me happy that schools can still teach about climate change right now.
Just about.
A few schools
the way
out
things.
There
Oh my, yeah. It's getting less and less the way things are going now.
You've been a lifelong activist yourself, correct?
Well, yeah, I've
time.
obviously been aware of my surroundings for a long time, and you know, with songs like Saltwater, it's you know, this is where we live. This is how we're growing up in the world that we live. I mean, sadly, we didn't know about a lot of the things that we were doing to our environment years ago. At least the general public didn't. Obviously, it's becoming far more. We're becoming far more aware through activism and through especially social media. It's clear as day what's going on. I mean, the good thing is, you can't hide anymore in that respect, and I think that's why a lot of change is coming around.
Does it feel like it's coming around right now? Or
I did slowly but surely. Yeah, I mean, it's even with the likes of slowly but surely not using plastic straws anymore, etc. The list goes on.
Plastic is so
well,
so bad.
It's incredibly bad. I mean, it's they're now saying that it's in every kind of water that exists. Your tap water, even here in the city, has plastic in it. Bottled water, every kind of it's insane. I mean, it's a very disturbing situation.
Do the actions of this administration disturb you in terms
absolutely.
of its relationship to the environment?
Absolutely. They've, as far as I mean, I don't want to get into politics, but all I've seen with this administration is not evolution, but devolution, in every way, shape, and form. They've undone everything that's been done to try and make the world a better place.
Which were also, in and of itself, just minor steps to try to make the world a better place. They weren't even that big of steps.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a very, very sad state of affairs, and I can only pray that will change sooner than later.
Well, I also think one of our only hopes is books like this and teaching children at a very early age their relationship to the environment and the world around them.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm so happy that it's been accepted so well. So that encourages me as well to move on and do further work. And with Bart and I have just done a deal with a company called Gaumont to turn the book into an animated series for kids. So, that's another way of reaching out and getting the word out there. So, couldn't be happier. After this, that was probably the best next step we could take in pushing this further.
What's your guys' process in writing the books?
It's throwing spaghetti at
the wall. That's it.
Well, I mean, there are so many issues. It's finding the most delicate way to approach them.
Finding a through line to.
Yes, yeah. Because it's very much like writing a song as well, or in Bart's case, writing a book. It's the communication, the words. Every single word has to be very, very carefully thought out, because especially with a kid, they're learning the exact meanings of what these words mean, how it affects people. So, it's a long process. I mean, it really is. It takes a year to do, to write a couple of pages, to get the book done. And there's also, I mean, for me, the artwork is just beautiful. I mean, we went through, quite a few artists to finally come across Smiljana. And the moment I saw her work, I just said, she's the one,
So were the illustrations then, the ideas for them based off of how she already worked and the art that she had already made, or did you guys have interpretation?
Yeah, no, we threw a few ideas. We said, this is the concept. This is the White Feather Flier. It's a plane with wings, and the kids are going to be in there. It is the main character of the story. It drives the story and the children's imagination, of course. That's how it's propelled, I mean, that's and when she came back with this character, I just went, yeah, she's got it, that's it.
And now White Feather is the name of your actual foundation too, right?
Yeah, the White Feather Foundation, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that, when you started it?
Yes, I can do.
No, I will not talk about my foundation.
No, of course I will. Well, it's a two-pronged sort of thing. Many, many moons ago, 20 plus, maybe 30 years, I was on tour in Australia, and I was summoned to the lobby of the hotel by the management, and they said, Miss Lennon, excuse me, but you have about 30, 40 or 50 people in the lobby that want to talk to you. I'm going, you're joking, right? because we used to prank a lot on the road, that get giggles all the time, and I thought this was a joke. I thought this was another joke, and they said, no, literally, this is very, very serious. You have an Aboriginal tribe down here with a bunch of news crews. Not a clue what it was about. So I go downstairs, and there's a semicircle in the lobby in front of me with the whole crowd gathered, and I walk up to them, and this the elder of the tribe, called the Mourning People, she walked up to me with a male swan's white feather, which is yay big, and said to me, "You have a voice. Can you help us?" And at that point in time, I didn't know what their history really was. I know they'd been badly treated over the years by the government, but I didn't know their specific history and how it aligned with everything else. But the reason why I got goosebumps at that particular point in time was because Dad had said to me that if he passed, and this was a very strange thing to say, but should he pass, if there was a way of letting me know or letting everybody know that he was all right, that we were all going to be all right, it would be in the form of a white feather. So when I got that, the goosebumps hit big time, and that kind of freaked me out. It really did.
It's eerie.
Yeah, yes, a bit spooky. And I just thought, well, what do I do? Do I just carrying on being a rock and roller or whatever, or do I actually step up to the plate? So I spent 10 years making a documentary about the Mourning tribe, about their plight. They'd been kicked off their lands. The land was used for nuclear testing, onto warring tribes. A lot of things happened. The documentary took 10 years, and I thought, listen, if it does well, if it makes any money, I want the money to go back to the Mourning tribe. And the only way to do that at that point in time was through a foundation. And so the director and I thought, we're throwing spaghetti again, and came up with the White Feather Foundation. And initially it was just, a road, a highway for any money being made to go to the tribe. It was only after I decided to put a website together with the onset of the internet, and that people started writing into me and asking, what do you do? Can you help us? And I'm going, well, I'm not really a foundation, but and one thing led to another, and I started, putting a team together that was where we could work with NGOs around the world and deal with some of the causes that I very much believe in. But initially, clean water, that's the biggest on the list. Health and education around the world, and also maintaining and supporting Indigenous tribes around the world. So, most of that has been done.
This book also represents a lot.
Yes, it represents a lot of the things that we deal with, the issues that we deal with, and so everything I do, whatever I make financially, a good proportion goes into the White Feather Foundation to follow those causes and do the best we can, So we've done pretty well over the year, but we do absolutely rely on donations. I mean, that's what's keeping us alive, to be honest with you, and everybody else that we're trying to help.
People can go to the whitefeatherfoundation.com.
Whitefeatherfoundation.com, yeah, and we have campaigns all lined up and ready to go, and we as I said, we work with NGOs around the world, but we're willing to work on new projects and new ideas and new campaigns. So, we're always thankful if people come to us with ideas too.
What was it like for you when you realized that this was going to be kind of your next calling outside of music, having this foundation? or do you feel that music is your calling, or that this foundation is?
No, all of it is. All of it. I don't think, I think once you box somebody or an idea, you're screwed. We are made of so much more than one thing. I love music. love writing. I love books. I love art. I love photography. I love charity. I love people. I love the world we live in. So anything to do to be able to write about that, to be able to help with that, to be able to look after that and cherish it, empathize with it, and just try and make this world a better place for myself and everybody, all living things. Then that's my gig. Should be everybody's gig. Yeah.
I want to ask you a couple questions about your music.
Sure.
Who would you say was your greatest influence as a songwriter? Because I'd be so curious when you have. I mean, everyone's laughing because
the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Everyone assumes that it's going to be, Paul or John, and what you grew up with, but it might not be. You might have shunned that for a little while when you decided to make your own music. I'm not sure.
No, they've always been there. As I mean, listen, the Beatles were.
Did you ever try to run from it?
To a degree. Well, it was more leaning on a few other influences rather than running away from what was there already. Never ran away from their influence because it was so great. I mean, number one, they didn't just do one style of music. They covered so much ground.
Broke ground, too.
And broke ground from album to album. So, I mean, I don't think any musician can honestly say that they haven't been influenced by the Beatles one way or another, But I loved my other loves were, Keith Jarrett, Steely Dan, America. I mean, the list goes on. Pink Floyd, AC/DC. Bowie, of course, was a major influence, I think.
You ever get to meet Bowie?
Oh, yeah, several times. Yeah, we hung out a few times. I was lucky enough to know him relatively well. I actually followed him on tour once because his drummer, his bass player, and a few other people on his team played with me live as well. So yeah, we had a lot of friends in common. But he was a master. He was I bow down to him a great deal.
Yeah, that's one of those heroes that I feel like it's got to be really intimidating the first time you meet him.
Oh, I was always intimidated by him. Yeah, because he was just so on it, so focused, so together, so smart,
He
so
also
witty.
always seems like slightly, I don't want to say above because that sounds like a put down or anything, but like just sort of so aware of everything
Absolutely.
around him,
Absolutely. That was him.
The kind of person that waits for you to talk first.
Yeah. He wants to know. He wants to listen and know what's going on first, so he can suss you out. But he was very on it. I mean, yeah, absolutely one of my all-time favorites.
What was your relationship like with your father's music, especially the stuff that was about peace and about the earth and about activism in a lot of ways?
Yeah, well, I mean, I liked what he was saying. Obviously, it hit home and hit a note with me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have followed through in a similar fashion.
It's like one of those things that's in your blood. You kind of.
It kind of is. I mean, because what are you going to disagree about in that realm? It's about peace and love and trying to make the world a better place. It's that simple. We all do it in our own way, of course. But certainly, he's been a big influence on not only me, but a lot of people, as we know.
I was watching the Times Square ball drop on New Year's Eve this past year, and the band there played Imagine.
Right.
And I forgot what band it was, and they were just in front of a Bank of America sign and like a Pepsi sign, and I was just thinking to myself, this poor song.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been beaten up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a song about like.
Yeah, I know.
A peaceful world without religion and
I know.
without wars for profit, and you're just like,
I've heard
man.
a few sad versions of it. That's all I'll say. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Let's get some questions from our audience.
Sure,
Who has a question?
Hi. I was wondering, what made you passionate about creating content for children?
Well, I've always been involved in, as I said, trying to make the world a better place, whether it's through doing things for children through the charity or whether it's in songwriting. But in fact, how the books came about, Bart Davis, the co-writer, and I, we were talking about doing a biography because I figured, you know, it was about time for me to possibly write something, my side of the story of what my life's been like, before it's too late, before I pop my clogs or too many of my friends pop their clogs, because they remember more than I do. So Bart and I were sitting down, and he was researching about my life, and we'd known each other for a few years, but he didn't know a lot about White Feather Foundation, and he learnt about that. And he said, "But Jules, what are you doing for the kids?" I said, "Well, I've songs. I've done we're doing, you know, charity, water, schools, education. No, what are you doing for the kids from your heart?" And I said, "Well, I guess I haven't really done anything specific in that regard." He said, "Well, what about a children's book?" And you know, I thought about it for a while, and I thought, you know, that's a great opportunity to tell good stories, to provide information, and start again that conversation. And that's where it started a couple of years ago. And each book has taken a year to come together. And the next one comes out, you know, this time next year, which will be the last one in the trilogy, called Love the Earth. And you know, I'm in now. You know, and it's been great, and I've loved it. And you know, I still have one or two books from when I was a kid that I love to cherish. And it's like, for me, it's like having the old vinyl albums. You know, it's that physical thing, and to me, that's a memory, and it means a great deal to me. So that's what I feel about having the books as a solid rather than in digital format.
Next question.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering, what did you contribute to your cover, other than the feathers?
Well,
The name.
well, the name, yeah, that guy. Well, obviously the White Feather Flier. I mean, the main character is what the contribution was as far as the theme. But again, it was Smiliana who came up with the full concept, and then it was, you know, shaping the lettering and blah blah blah, and the fonts and the angles and what the scenery behind, and that goes back and forth for, you know, because Bart lives in America, I live in Europe, and you know, there's back and forth, and it's little bits until we both feel that it says what it does on the tin, so to speak, and that's been the process, you know. Even to the shading and the light and the hills and the sparkles in the water at the front. It's little details all the way down the line. So a lot and not very much, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more. Also, a lot and not very much sounds like every collaboration.
Yeah. A bit of this, bit of that, you know. I mean, it's...
Hi.
Hi.
When in your creative process do you realize that you're finished and you're ready to release your work?
At what stage, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to go with your gut on that. You know, I think it gets to a point where it feels right. I mean, with most artists, you could tweak until the cows come home. But I think you have to let go at some point. It's a weird moment, because then the next stage is obviously meeting the public and seeing what the reception is of that. But again, I think it's a gut feeling when it feels right. So you just go, okay, send it off into the world and hope for the best.
And sending stuff off into the world is kind of the only way to get better as an artist a lot of the time, too.
Yeah, I mean, I suffer from terrible anxiety sometimes, and especially I used to suffer a lot more when dealing with, you know, putting a song out, putting an album out, even putting myself out there. But you know, with age and maturity comes a little more chilled aspect in life. you know, I've been learning and teaching myself that I need to be here and now and in the present and enjoy this moment rather than worrying about the next, which may not even exist. So to me, that's key in being able to breathe and live and move forward and do the best work that I can and try and have the best life that I can.
Absolutely. Julian, the book is on shelves now. People can pick it up or order it online, right?
Indeed, yeah. It was April 3rd. It was launched. Yes, yeah.
Fantastic. And we'll look forward to the conclusion of the trilogy next year.
Thank you very much. And I have a book signing tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic.
If I may mention that, at Barnes & Noble, Union Square. So if anybody wants to come along, I'll be there.
People should go to the White Feather Foundation.
White Feather Foundation and healtheearthbook.com if they want to get a signed copy online.
Fantastic. Julian Lennon, everybody.
My
Let's hear
pleasure.
it.